We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Glory UGA podcast, brought to you by our good friends at MyBookie. Make sure to check them out this weekend and every weekend of the college football season for all your betting needs. Just go to mybookie.ag, use our code UGA, sign up for a new account, guys, and that first bet is going to be fully covered all the way up to $500. Jump on that while you can. But today on the show, guys, I've been breaking down this big showdown between Georgia and Alabama, this clash of SEC Titans all week here on this channel and on the audio side of our podcast. But now it's time to put it all together and give you guys my keys to the game and make that final prediction. So we're going to do all of that, guys. But before we do, if you are a diehard George fan, you found the right channel. This channel is designed for all you guys out there, all you diehards. So go ahead, subscribe right now, hit those notifications, like, comment. What is your final prediction for this Georgia-Alabama game? Is Georgia finally going to flip the script on the Tide? Maybe once and for all, hopefully. What are the keys to the game? What do you think will decide the outcome? Let me know, guys, in those comments. But all right. I gave you guys my deep dive game preview earlier this week. Thank you for everyone who's already checked that out. But if you're looking for a much more comprehensive, in-depth preview of this game, go check that out, guys. It's still obviously up there. Humbly, I don't think you'll find a more in-depth preview of this game anywhere out there. So go check it out. I think you guys will enjoy that. But today, what I want to do here is condense it all together in a nice compact format. Keep it short for you guys, which admittedly sometimes I do have a problem with. I like football, so sue me. I like to talk ball, but I'm going to try to keep it short for you guys and give you my keys to a Georgia victory, and of course, that all-important, what you guys have been waiting for, that final prediction in this matchup between Georgia and Alabama. But let's start with those keys to the game. I've got 5 of them here, all right? And these are 5 things that if Georgia can check them off, at the end of the game, I just don't see how they don't win. Not saying Georgia's going to win yet. We'll get to that later on. But if Georgia checks off these 5 things to the affirmative, these 5 keys to the game that I'm about to identify for you, I don't see how the Dogs don't win. These are the keys to a Georgia victory in this game against Alabama. Let's start at the top here. First one, this is not an X's and O's thing. The rest of them will be. This one, not so much. This is more the intangible side of things, which normally I don't really dabble in. That's not me. I'm more of a hardcore nuts and bolts football guy. But in this game, you can't escape the intangible factors. It's just reality, guys. It is imperative, in my opinion, for Georgia to get off to a fast start in this game. I say that because you will not convince me. No one out there will be able to convince me that Alabama, and I hate to say it, guys, like I don't like the fact, but I mean, it's obvious at this point if you watch these games, you know the history of this matchup in recent years. It's obvious that Alabama has gotten into our collective heads, certainly as a program. And there's a number of reasons for that, guys. I think what happens is we build it up. What happened is it became a thing, right? It was the old, originally, of course, it's the mentor versus the protege, Kirby versus Nick Saban, right? And we didn't have early success against Alabama, and obviously we weren't there as a program early in the Kirby era. In fact, I think it was a minor miracle we kept those early games, 2017, 2018, as close as we did with Bama, considering they had that program built out for over a decade, and we were just in the early stages of our program. I always thought that was different than how other people perceived it. A lot of people would perceive that. Of course, the narrative was, well, Kirby's just not as good as Saban. Well, I mean, yeah, not yet. But to me, we came as close as we did to beating them in 2017 and 2018. Easily could have won, maybe should have won both those games. Didn't, but maybe should have. To me, that was a sign of how good of a coach Kirby Smart and our staff was, where our program was at that stage in the Kirby building out our program. But it became a thing early on. It became a national narrative, a talking point all offseason during the season. And we started to feed into it, right? It's all on social media. Our players, it's a digital world. We all live in it. We're all interconnected. They read this, they see it, of course, and it kind of gets in their head. And so when you play Bama, when that game comes up, you build it up. And we haven't played them at home. You played them all on the road. You play them in neutral sites. And we feed into it. And we played them differently. Our players perform differently. We start making these mistakes that are uncharacteristic of what we do against everyone else. We coach differently. We don't coach as aggressively. We've been more passive in recent years. And that's why I think it is so important for Georgia to start fast in this game. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to flip the script and be like, Georgia has to jump out to a 28-0 lead like Alabama did a year ago, but I do think it is important to get a lead early and at the very least to have things go well for Georgia, to have good things happen early in this game. I think that's important because if not, if Bama gets out to an early lead, if we have some early turnovers, knock on wood, that doesn't happen, and they convert those into points, all of a sudden the crowd gets quiet, right? And not just the fan base, like, yeah, these thoughts will be running through our heads, but I think the thoughts of, oh my God, here we go again. That starts to run through our players' minds, right? Run through the crowd's mind. The crowd's not as wild as it is going to be at kickoff, right? And the players all of a sudden they start hesitating a little bit. And they start playing passively, like we have at times the past couple matchups against Alabama. So that's why I think a fast start is really important. Now, if Bama gets out to a lead of sorts early on, I will say playing at home this time, that does make us more capable of turning around a rough start. And we saw, guys, like we almost made that wild, valiant comeback at the end of the game last year. Felt oh so tantalizingly short there. And that was on the road in a hostile environment. So it's not impossible. I'm not saying we can't turn around an early deficit, but I prefer to not find out, right? I think it would behoove us and be in our best interest to not play that game, to not have to worry about does it get back in our heads? Do we start wondering, oh my God, here we go again? So that is important. I also think it's really important to have Ty Simpson, who I know he's played in a road environment at Florida State. Guys, they took a lot of seats out of that stadium. That's what they did when they renovated it. It's like, what, 60,000 people now? It was mid-afternoon. That's not going to be the same environment that he will face in Athens on Saturday night. This will clearly be the single most hostile environment that he has played in to date. He has not played in an environment like the one he will play in on Saturday. So if we are able to get out to an early lead, the crowd's frothing at the mouth, does that affect a talented but still inexperienced quarterback in these types of games? I think the answer could probably be yes. So fast start. Let's go. That's important in this game. Number two here, let's get into more of the X's and O's, the nuts and bolts of this. I think it's really important, and I really kind of laid this out. I'll kind of condense it here for you guys, but I laid it out on the in more detail on the deep dive preview. But it's really important for Georgia to be able to affect the pass or to affect Ty Simpson in this game. Let me explain why in a short little synopsis here for you, right? The first game, if you look at Bama's 3 games at this point, the first game against Florida State on the road was a tough outing for Ty Simpson and the Alabama passing game at large. He was 23 of 43, 254 yards, 53% completion percentage, only 5.9 yards per attempt against Alabama or against Florida State. Now, was he running for his life? Was that a big part of it? Yes, that's my point. I'm not saying Ty Simpson sucks, but when he was pressured like he was all game in that matchup, yeah, his numbers weren't great. Well, what have his numbers been since then? Against Louisiana Monroe in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. 41 of 46 in those 2 games combined, 89% completion percentage, 13.2 yards per attempt, over 300 passing yards per game, 7 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. Again, what's the difference between the Florida State performance and Louisiana Monroe, Wisconsin? Against Florida State, he was pressured consistently. They got after him. And a lot of times, guys, it wasn't even like bringing pressure. They were just whipping Bama up front, in particular, Caden Proctor there on the left side of the ball. Louisiana Monroe, Wisconsin, were not. He had a clean pocket. I threw these numbers out at you earlier in the week, but if you missed the episode, I'll throw it at you right here. Ty Simpson, with a clean pocket, according to Pro Football Focus, his PFF grade is 91.6 with a clean pocket. When pressured, that grade drops to 58 or 54.8. That is a significant drop off. Of course, every quarterback is better with a clean pocket than they are under pressure, but you usually don't see that big of a gulf, that big of a gap between their clean grade and their pressure grade. Now, take PFF for what it is, qualitative stuff. Take it or leave it, take it with a grain of salt, but those are the numbers, okay? And if you watch the games, you see it bear out. Ty Simpson's good. I'm not telling you he's not good. I think he's a talented quarterback. He's a really good athlete. He's decisive. He's accurate. He can go through progressions well when he's got a clean pocket and he's got time. But in that one game, it's a small sample size. I admit it, but it's what we have to work with. In that one game where he was pressured, he was a different guy. All those things he did well against Louisiana Monroe, Wisconsin, they went out the window. Now, could you say he learned from that game? Sure. But it's easy to learn from it when you aren't pressured. What's going to happen if you're able to pressure him again? That's a key in this game, in my opinion. Also, if you want to limit the Bama passing game, which does concern me to a degree against our secondary, well, getting after the quarterback can certainly help you and limit how long you have to cover in the back end. All right, number 3 here, my third key. I think Georgia needs to be able to run the ball well enough. Okay, hear me on that. Well enough. I'm not saying dominant. That'd be great. Let's do that if we can, but well enough. All right. Now, originally, when I was putting together this list, these keys, I actually had in this spot protect Gunner Stockton. Because that's my biggest concern, guys. The offensive line, particularly the right side of the offensive line, that remains my single biggest concern in this game. Alabama doesn't have elite pass rushers right now. They haven't demonstrated that. They're actually not great rushing the passer right now. They don't have the dudes they once had. But the right side of our offensive line, I think I can go out there and line up right now and give me a helmet, suit me up, coach, and I might be able to get after the passer. Like it seemed like that at times, right? So that concerns me, no doubt. But how do you mitigate that issue? Here's why I flipped it from protect the passer to run the ball well enough. How do you mitigate that issue that we've had at times, a lot of times, protecting the passer from the right side of the offensive line? You run the football. That is the primary way to do it. There are other ways, screen game, sure, but running the football is the traditional it's a fail safe, guys. Like that is how you protect the quarterback. Because what does it allow you to do? When you run the football, you stay ahead of the chains, you stay on schedule, you keep a full menu of play options on the table. You become less predictable because you're not in third and long. You're not in third and obvious passing situations. You're in second and 4. You're in third and 2. And if you want to take a shot down the field, you can, but you can also run it. And they know that too. You're not predictable. So it keeps the defense off balance, which means they're not able to sit back there, put their hand in the dirt, pin their ears back, and just get after your quarterback. Because if we're in situations like that, I don't love our chances. They don't rush the passer well, but man, like if they know it's an obvious passing situation, the right side of our offensive line, I hope to God we got it fixed. Maybe we got healthier during the bye week. Doesn't seem like Ernest Green's going to play. It looks like Bo Hughley might get a shot there to open the game, and I hope that that's the case, as he's looked the best in pass pro. Run game, maybe not as dominant, but has looked better in pass pro. But it's still a concern for me, right? So that's how you help a side of the offensive line that's been struggling. Again, we don't have to go wild on the ground. It's not what I'm saying. We just have to do it well enough, right? Well enough to stay ahead of the chains, to stay on schedule, and to keep ourselves out of those obvious passing situations. Because if we can keep them off of Gunner, I do think we're going to have opportunities to hit some big plays down the field. That's important in my opinion here. All right, number 4. We already did number 3. We're on number 4. So when you look at last year's matchup, guys, how did Bama win that game? Well, obviously, we helped them a lot. We self-destructed in the first half. A lot of turnovers certainly helped, limited our scoring opportunities, gave them some scoring opportunities, some short fields, but we also gave up too many big plays. Like we did against Tennessee. How did Tennessee finally start scoring more points against Georgia than they ever have under Josh Heupel? Guys, they never scored more than 17 points against Georgia under Josh Heupel until a couple weeks ago. Well, they hit some explosive plays, which is something they've not been able to do against Georgia. So that is a big key for me in this game. We have to find a way to eliminate, ideally, or at least dramatically reduce the number of big plays that Alabama is able to hit in this game, particularly in the passing game, because that's kind of how they generated their big plays to this point in the season. Last year, guys, in that matchup, Bama put together 6 plays of 20 or more yards, and some of them, like, I don't know, the final go-ahead touchdown where Julian Humphrey's just flailing aimlessly through the air, like helpless. Yeah, those were game changers. That kind of cost us the game. If we don't give those explosive plays, they probably don't win it. Guys, Bama only had one touchdown drive in that game last year of more than 6 plays. One touchdown drive of more than 6 plays against us last year. In fact, after they went up 28-0 in that game, we stopped them on 7 of 8 drives. 7 of 8 drives ended in either a punt, a turnover on downs, or a straight up turnover. 7 of 8 drives. Now, why do I say that? Why do I think that matters? Well, what that shows us is like, yeah, they got out to a big lead, but they didn't do it by driving up and down the field, stringing together long drives against Georgia. That's not what they did. They won the game because we gave them short fields and because they hit explosive plays. And we just were horrific in stopping explosive plays. We gave it way too many eye discipline issues and just technique failures, just idiotic stuff that we cannot do, right? And if you look at Bama this year, guys, are they more equipped this year to be able to string together long drives? Well, they haven't been able to run the football at all year, guys. They're averaging less than 80 yards rushing per game against the 2 Power 4 opponents they played. And Wisconsin's not even good, y'all. They're not even good. That's a bad Wisconsin football team. So I do not think that Alabama can string together enough long drives to score enough points to win this game, especially on the road. But big plays change that equation. If we're getting a big play after big play like we did a year ago, well, they don't have to string together long drives. So that is critical, in my opinion, in this game. Limit the big play. You limit their ability to score. If you limit their ability to score, you limit their ability to win the football game. That's huge here. And finally, number 5 here. Obviously, this almost goes without saying. You can say this in any game, but Georgia has to win the turnover battle. It is very important for the Dogs to not turn the ball over the way that we did last year, just with reckless abandon. And that was the problem not only in that game a year ago, guys, but in the last 4 matchups. Georgia's 1-3 against Alabama. We know the one. Let's go. National championship game. But in the last 4 matchups, we're 1-3. In those 4 matchups, we have lost a turnover battle 8-2, -6 in the turnover margin against Alabama over the course of the last 4 matchups. So last year, again, they beat us off of really 2 reasons: explosive plays they were able to generate, good for them, and turnovers that we gave them. And a lot of them guys, they weren't creating them. Like we just again, go back and watch the game. Like Arian Smith running a go route when we're trying to run a screen on an audible, and we throw the ball where he's supposed to be. He's not there. Pick. I mean, it is what it is, right? Carson Beck, final drive of the game. You put the ball where it's supposed to be on the fade route to or the back shoulder to Colby Young. It's a touchdown. You win the game, or at least tie, go to overtime, see what happens. But you throw it, you put it in the wrong spot, pick. And we didn't do that. Georgia did that. Carson Beck did that, right? We cannot do those things. We cannot, guys. We gave them short fields. We took away our own scoring opportunities last year. It's always a factor in every game. Like you want to win the turnover battle in every game. It can be a key for any game. But when margins are as small as they are in a game like this, winning the turnover battle takes on an outsized importance. One turnover can be the difference between winning and losing this football game. When the margins are as tight as they are between two incredibly talented football teams like these 2 teams that will be squaring off in Sanford Stadium on Saturday are. All right. So those are my 5 keys. Those are the 5 keys. My 5 boxes that Georgia needs to check off in this game if they want to win the game, right? That's the recipe for success. Check off all those 5 boxes, you win the football game. Now, the next step here is to give you guys a final prediction, is to determine, can Georgia actually check off all 5 of those boxes that I just laid out for you guys? Well, let's run through them really quickly here. All right, fast start. Can Georgia get off to a fast start? I think the answer is yes. I know that there's this ridiculous narrative in the college football public out there that Sanford Stadium is not a tough environment. That's ridiculous. That's coming from people who, like, last time they went to a game at Sanford Stadium was like 2012, 2013. It was like, well, yeah, against Mississippi State in 2013, Georgia, it wasn't a great environment at noon. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. Come to a game now since Kirby Smart's gotten here. You tell me it's not one of the best environments in college football. Guys, I travel to every game. I go to every one of them. And Georgia, at its best, is as good as any environment out there. Yes, as good as Jordan Hare Stadium, as good as Neyland Stadium. Not as big, but as good as that environment is, guys. It is a legit home field edge. And in this game, we haven't had Bam at home in a decade, man. It's gonna be bananas out there, all right? It's gonna be, as the kids say, lit, all right? That's what we're gonna see on Saturday. So does that mean Georgia will necessarily get off to a fast start? No. Does it help? Yeah. I think it absolutely helps, no doubt about it. And I want to give Mike Bobo credit. I know that he's a popular punching bag among some of the Georgia faithful out there, but this guy's done a really good job, at least in the Tennessee game, of scripting that first drive. And now some of that was we held some things back in the first 2 games, which people were screaming bloody murder. What's wrong with our offense? Well, guys, we weren't trying to actually run a real offense. We were just as vanilla as could possibly be because we wanted to save it for games like Tennessee and Alabama, right? So we unveiled some things we hadn't seen. What was that? 10 plus new run plays that we hadn't seen before. And I'm telling you, a lot of those run plays that we showed, there's a lot of counters we can run off them, a lot of constraints. So I think that there's a lot of this offense we have not shown yet because we haven't played we haven't played 2 Power 4 games like Alabama has. And they've probably shown more of what they have than what we have. Will they come out of the bye week with some adjustments? Of course, everyone will. So will we. So I think Georgia can absolutely check that box off and get off to a fast start. It's not a guarantee, but I think there's a strong chance that Georgia will be able to do that. Next up, number 2, will Georgia be able to pressure the quarterback? I know that if you watch Georgia so far, you would think one of the issues maybe you've seen is that we haven't been able to rush the passer as effectively as we would like. And that's something I did point out, and I talked about something I would like to see come out of the bye week us improve on. But there's context there, as we talked about. The first 2 games, you're playing overmatched opponents, trying to get the ball out of their hands very, very quickly. We don't really have opportunities to rush the passer. Tennessee, they have been decimated by our pass rush the past couple of years, so they made some adjustments in that game. during the course of the offseason, trying to put together a game plan to try to score more points against us, and they had some success. But what was one of the adjustments that they made? They went more max protect than they ever have against Georgia, keeping tight ends and running backs, and not always max protect, but a lot of times, guys, they were sending 3 receivers into routes, sometimes 2 receivers into routes, like going legit max protect. You can't get after the passer guys if they're keeping 7 guys in the block, right? You're only sending 4, sometimes 5. And once we realized what they were doing, we stopped sending a ton of extra bodies because we know we're not going to get to them anyways. So let's keep our structural integrity in the back end and just kind of flood the zones out there, the passing zones. So I just don't think you've really seen Georgia really unleash that pass rush attack. So I think there's more to that there. And we were very vanilla rushing the pass. We weren't even running a lot of like twists and stunts, games up front in those first games, not only a ton against Tennessee as well. So I think there's more to the pressure packages that we have. I think we're going to unveil some new ones in this game that Bama has not seen. And also, guys, as I laid out in detail on the preview show, I have a lot of questions about Bama's edges, particularly Caden Proctor. I don't think Will Form is very good either. Guys, Caden Proctor is just not what they tell you he is. This a top 10 draft pick? Are you kidding me? Whatever GM drafts him in the top 10, fire him immediately. Like that's crazy. This guy against legit competition is lost, man. Like go watch the Florida State game. And they weren't even doing anything crazy. They're just lining up and having one guy rush the passer against him, and they're just whipping him consistently. And that goes, and it's not just that one game, guys. Go back to his freshman year. Freshman year, okay, big 5-star guy, wasn't great right away. He's a freshman. He'll get better, right? Got a little bit better as the year went on. Sophomore year, missed first couple games, comes back, was a little bit better last year, but still against better competition, against legit speed rushers. The guy doesn't bend well. His feet get stuck in concrete sometimes. He overextends. He oversets. He's not a great pass protector. He's a better run blocker. He's not bad there. Pass pro against legit pass rushers, it's a problem. He's a liability sometimes. And Chris Cole is a guy that I think might have a breakout game for Georgia in this game, rushing the pass, particularly against Cade Proctor, also looking for me as well. So I think Georgia, I'm not saying that we're going to pressure him as much as Florida State did, but I think that we are going to have the ability to pressure the passer and get after him in a way that we haven't seen from the Georgia defense yet because we haven't really had opportunities and we've really been turned loose to do that to this point. But I think we're going to be able to in this game. Running the football. Well, guys, Bama it's weird, man. They're bottom 5 in the SEC in both rushing offense and rushing defense. That's very un-Bama-like. You're not used to saying those things aloud when talking about an Alabama football team. That's just like the antithesis of what they were under Nick Saban. Obviously, different program, different coach. We know that, right? But they have not been able to stop the run very effectively. Now, they gave up a ton of yards to Florida State on the ground. And I know that the retort to that would be, well, Tyler, Georgia doesn't have Thomas Castellanos. That was a big part of why Florida State was able to run the football the way that they were. Okay, you're right. Gunnar Stockton is not Tommy Castellanos. He doesn't run the ball like that, but he is a running threat. He is a guy that we can absolutely use in the design QB run game. And I do think that that is going to give Alabama some issues. I think that's a big part. So you use quarterback in the run game and you take back numbers, right? Which is something that we have not been able to do. Alabama has been able to do this. They got us the numbers game the past couple of years with Jalen Milroe, which is a major factor in this game. He's not here, so I think that kind of helps Georgia, actually, even though I know Ty Simpson's a better passer. But, man, like, he caused all sorts of issues. Milroe caused all sorts of issues. He changed the way we defended them. He's a big reason why we were so passive, and he's not there in this game. But the quarterback run game, I think, is going to help Georgia a lot. You get the numbers. You also create more gaps, right? You've used the running back as a blocker. So I do think that that is going to be a big part of this for Georgia. Georgia's run the ball well. We're averaging over 200 yards rushing per game. I know the first few games wasn't great competition, but we basically ran for 200 yards against Tennessee, who's maybe not an elite defense this year, but it's still a really good, talented defense. We did that on the road, and they've been better stopping the run than Alabama has, guys. Again, bottom 5 in the SEC, and they've played Wisconsin, who's freaking terrible, and Louisiana Monroe, who's not good. The only good team they played is Florida State, and they ran all over them. So can I guarantee Georgia will have success running the ball? No, but I think that based on what we've seen from both these teams at this point and what we saw with them having issues stopping the quarterback run game and what they did opening up the rest of the run game for Florida State, I think that Georgia saw that and will try to exploit that and in the run game with Gunnar Stockton here on Saturday. Eliminate the big play. That's one of the big questions I have, guys. I cannot tell you in good conscience that this is a clear check for Georgia. That is one of my big concerns in this game. You saw Tennessee be able to create some explosive plays. Like, guys, Tennessee is a great case point, or case study. They weren't able to move the ball up and down the field in Georgia. They weren't stringing together long drives. The first drive, yes. After that, a couple explosive plays. That's what got us. If you don't give those explosive plays, Georgia wins by 2-3 touchdowns in that game. Like, that's the reality. It doesn't come close going to overtime, but you gave them the explosive plays. And when you do that, you make it easier for them. So I don't know, man. Like we have issues. We've had issues for years playing the ball in the air. We're almost always in position to make plays on the ball, but we have trouble doing it. Now I will say, you go back and watch some of those plays. You go back and watch the all 22, like I have over the past couple of weeks. It's not all as bad as it looks. Some of this is just guys not playing their responsibility. Like the one Ellis Robinson, he's supposed to have on one of the touchdowns. He's supposed to have safety help on the inside. Safety wasn't there. If you go back and you look at the one that late in the third quarter with Daniel Harris, he's in position playing cover 3 there. He's in position. He just didn't make a play on the ball. It was a savvy push off. Like it was a push off. Could have been called. Wasn't. Whatever. Wasn't the most egregious offensive pass interference, but it still was OPI on that play. And look, that I think he makes that play more often than he doesn't, but he didn't make it in that situation. So I think that we have good corners. I love Dalen Everett. Like I'm confident in him, and I think Ellis is good. I think Daniel Harris is good. But we've got to go out there and make those plays. The one area I am really concerned about is Janelle Aguero matched against Ryan Williams in the slot. That concerns me in terms of like being able to create some big plays. That's why I think it's important to get after the passer so you don't allow those big plays to generate, like to be able to develop down the field. So that's the one that I still have some questions about. And then winning the turnover battle, man, like that's, you don't know. That's up in the air, right? You could not. I would like to think that Georgia has a better chance to win the turnover battle in this game than we have in the last 4 matchups because we're at home and the crowd's going in our favor, and that's going to be hostile against Alabama. The crowd noise, especially with an inexperienced quarterback in that kind of environment, could that be a factor? Yeah. So I like to think that we could win the turnover battle, but I can't definitively tell you that we will in this game. But I think there's a chance that I think we have a better chance than we have in years past. So that's kind of how I see this, guys. Now, we don't have to win all of them. That's the thing. We don't have to check all 5 boxes. If we do, I don't see how Georgia loses. I think we might run away with the game if we check all 5 boxes. But we don't have to do that. We just need to win more of those keys than we lose. All right. We need to win 3 or 4 of those. If we win 3 or 4 of those, I think that we can win this football game. And ultimately, here's what I think to break it down for you. I think Georgia's going to be able to get pressure on Simpson. I do believe that. I don't trust their bookends at tackle, especially Caden Proctor. I know what they tell you about him. I don't see it on tape, man. Just watch the tape. I don't see it. I think Chris Cole's going to have a big game. I think we're going to be able to get pressure on him. I think we're going to unveil some packages that we have not shown yet. I believe Georgia will be able to run the ball well enough against the Alabama defense that it's not bad. They're good. They're talented, but just they're not as good in the front 6 as they usually are. I know Tim Keenan comes back, guys, but he's coming off a high ankle sprain. He's coming off tightrope surgery and coming back in like 5 weeks. A big dude like that, I mean, is he really going to be out there playing every snap? Is he really going to be as effective as you would think he would be? There's a big difference between being cleared to play and being ready to play, being able actually to make an impact on the game. And I'm skeptical there. Call me skeptical. He is good if he's fully healthy. I just don't think he's fully healthy right now. So I do think Georgia will be able to run the ball well enough with the QB run game, that added element of the QB run game against this Bama defense, which will limit those third and obvious passing situations, which will help us mitigate what is my biggest concern, is the right side of our offensive line. Give us some opportunities to hit some big plays down the field, which I think they're going to be able to. In particular, I like Zachariah Branch in the slot to potentially be able to hit some big plays vertically down the field with his athleticism, his speed, his explosiveness against Deshaun Jones. I think they're pretty good on the outside with Damani Jackson and Xavier Brown. Deshaun Jones, I think that's the vulnerability there in the nickel DB position. The big plays certainly still scare me for Bama. There's still a chance they create those big plays. I need to see that before I buy in fully there. I rarely admit that could be a problem here. The turnover battle, like I said, is up in the air. I do like the fact that we're at home. I do think that helps there. And ultimately, guys, I think the home crowd pushes us over the top, helps us get that Bama curse out of our head. I think we get off that fast start. We don't start wondering, oh my God, here we go again. And I think the Dogs check off enough of those boxes, as I just laid out, to win this football game 27-23. Dogs on top. Let's freaking go. And if I'm wrong, guys. I'll be back here on Sunday to own it. Hopefully that's not what I have to do. But if it comes to that, your boy will be here, and I will eat my crow. But that's how I see it. It's a close game, guys. It's 2 really talented football teams, 2 good teams. But I think finally getting them at home, first time in a decade. I like the matchups here. I like the home factor. Georgia wins this football game 27-23. Let's go. Thank you guys so much for being here. I greatly appreciate you. If you are a diehard Georgia fan, you like this content, go ahead, subscribe right now. Turn those notifications on. Like, comment. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? Is it crazy to say Georgia's going to win this game until they actually do it against Alabama? I don't know. Let me know what you think. What's your prediction? What are your keys? Love to hear from you guys. But thank you so much for being here. I'm Tyler. And as always, go Dogs.
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.